if you want to provide structure for yourself and someone you're in relationship with and those around you, first step is you've got to know what you want. So I have a whole chapter that goes through desire. Like, what are your preferences, needs, boundaries, wants? You know, a lot of guys, they take this position of yeah, look, I'm an easygoing guy. Like, I don't have a lot of needs, so I'm all good here. And they think that makes it easier for their feminine partner. And I would say maybe at first it's easier. And then at some point she's just like, who the fuck are you, man? Like,
yeah.
Where are you in there? I can't feel you. And
it's
attraction.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah. So you have experience with this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's step one.
It's that idea that you think you're being easygoing, but having no preferences is not realistic. And it's completely, to me, a mask of being too nice.
Yes. I'm glad you said that.
You don't know what you're working with.
Right. And it goes into Robert Glover's work, who you mentioned earlier. And you become a nice guy who hides his needs, and you become angry underneath.
Yeah.
So look, this is a practice. It's a calisthenic that men have to do, of like, to sit and say, okay, what is it I'm really wanting? And they might sit for a while because they've so atrophied that part of their brain that just taps into what they want and is okay with that. I'm like, yeah, baby, this is what I want to do. I want to go to the Moroccan restaurant, and that's what's feeling really good to me. Are you in? So getting in touch with what you want, and then if I want my woman to go into her feminine state, which is going to be more relaxed, more playful, more radiant, more expressive. If I want her to go into that, then I need to alleviate her temporarily of some of the decision-making burden. So if it's as easy as we're going to dinner, instead of saying, baby, where do you want to go to dinner? You might say, hey, baby, I actually researched 3 restaurants. We can all get in at 8 o'clock at all of them. Which of these 3 sound good to you? And then, so that's you providing, you're simplifying. You haven't just thrown the whole decision-making wide open to her. You've actually simplified it, and she can say, I like A, B, or C, or I don't like any of those. She's welcome to say that, and you'll adapt in the moment. But you've simplified the decision-making while incorporating her needs. And so I think that's the art of this in a lot of cases when we talk about leadership, is you can take a leadership role, but you've got to incorporate her needs, because in so many cases, she's as competent or more competent in a lot of these things, than you are. So that's the art, is to bring focus, bring simplification, bring some direction, incorporate her needs. And what I say to guys is, you don't have to make every decision. You just need to make sure a decision gets made. So you facilitate the decision so that you two have a plan. So that's the simplest version of that.
Okay, I have to chime in here. So for those of you who are listening, there's only a little tiny clip of this that gets video. So, you're not seeing our reactions to each other. And I'm just sitting here nodding my head and smiling, because I'm like, oh, that is so true. It's like this feeling of, as a strong, powerful woman, I am making decisions all day long. Like, rapid fire decisions, very important decisions, big complex decisions. It's just like, it feels so nice to be with a man who's grounded in the ability to be decisive. And it does provide a sense of structure and connection, and it allows me, I'll just speak for myself, but it's interesting because I've talked to a lot of people about what the content in your book and this idea of providing structure and decisiveness. And it's like, I get to like, as you said it, I can even just breathe into the softness of my being. Yeah. And so it's such a powerful force. You talked a lot in the sections that I read, in the chapters that I read, about when a man shows up that way, because of women in the world, where we're in a world now that's more equal. Women are working and, they're doing powerful things in the world. And, in that way, she shows up in a masculine way in a lot of her life. So then in the relationship, it's the polarity of creating the dynamic between the masculine and feminine, so that in the relationship, she gets to have the softness because she has the masculinity out in the world. And reading that, I was just like, oh, that sounds so good. That is exact. I mean, it's just it resonated deeply when I was reading it.
Yeah. If I could point out 2 things to your listeners. One is for the men out there, whether or not you heard it without the video. Amanda, sorry, I almost called you Laura. Amanda had a visceral reaction. She wasn't having a mental reaction of like, oh, that really sounds nice. She was, I think you made a noise. And he was like, oh, you know,
totally.
That's what makes you uniquely attractive. When your way of being touches a visceral place in your woman, that's when she's going to get interested in you. You know, again, it's not necessarily the buying her flowers or something you might say. It's like, you got to touch these visceral parts where she's craving. And Amanda, as a powerful woman, you know, you are, I'm going to put words in your mouth, but I think it's what you just said. You're craving to be able to let go once in a while.
Yes.
And so that hence the visceral reaction.